Hello, welcome to Bodice Fashion Academy YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to draft a basic dartless bodice. Please like, comment, share and subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can also reach us on IG at Bodice Fashion Academy. So without further ado, let us go right into the tutorial. Thank you. Good evening everyone. So we are all welcome to another tutorial from the stable of Bodice Fashion Academy. Today we'll be talking about how to draft a basic dartless bodice. As promised, we'll be teaching us today how to draft a basic dartless bodice. But before we go into the tutorial, these are the materials we'll be needing for this class. You'll be needing your tape measure. I have my tape measure here. You'll be needing your paper, scissors. You'll need a pattern paper. This is my own pattern paper. You need a ruler. I have a ruler here. You need an armhole curve, and you also need an hip curve. So with all these materials, you need your marker, your pencil, your eraser and some other drafting tools. So I hope you go on with us as we go into the details of the tutorial. Before we go into the drafting, here are the required measurements we'll be needing for this tutorial. We'll be needing, because it's a basic class, that's why I intentionally wrote out all these required areas of measurements in full. We will be needing our shoulder measurements. We need our shoulder to bust points. We need our bust measurements. We need our shoulder to waist measurements. We need our waist measurements. Our shoulder to hip measurements. We need our hip measurements. And also need our shoulder to the knee measurements, or the full length, because this dartless bodice will be getting to the knee. The knee will be the final length of the dress. So another measurement we'll be needing is our armhole measurements. We'll be needing the circumference of the armhole. Then we'll need our sleeve length. We'll need our sleeve length. We'll need the bicep of the sleeve. I'll need the hem of the sleeve. Also, we'll need the across front measurement and also the across back measurement. So if you refer to the last video I sent to the group on how to measure, you know how to go about all these measurements. So I'll write out the values of all these measurements down, then we'll go into the tutorial proper. Our shoulder measurement is 13 inches. The shoulder to bust points is 9.5. The bust is 34 inches. The shoulder to waist is 16 inches. The waist is 27 inches. The shoulder to hip is 24 inches. The hip is 34 inches. The shoulder to knee, or the full length of the dress, is 36 inches. The armhole measurement is 18 inches. The sleeve length is depends on the preference of the owner, but for now let's just use 10 inches. The bicep is 10. The hem is 9. The across front measurement is 10 inches, while the across back is 11. So all these values will be drafting our basic dartless bodice. So to start with our bodice, the first thing we'll be needing to do on our pattern paper is to draw a line. That line has no measurements, it's just the starting line of this dartless basic bodice. So it's just our starting line. It has no measurement, so that we just know where our drafting will be starting from. So this is our start line. The next thing we'll need is to check our required measurements and see the widest circumference of that measurement, because we'll be drafting our front and back bodies together. So looking at the box now, you can see we have two equal parts. So I'll be using this side for the back and this side for the front. Now we have our perfect box. The next thing to do is to insert all our measurements into this box. The first measurement we'll be needing is the shoulder to bust point. The shoulder to bust point measurement. Remember I said this will be for the back and here will be for the front. So the shoulder to bust point measurement we have on our measurement list is 9.5. So from the start line here, I'll measure 9.5. I'll mark that point on both front and back parts of the boxes. 9.5. The next measurement I'll be needing is the shoulder to the waist measurement. For the shoulder to the waist measurement, we have 16 inches. So I'll also mark the 16 inches on both front and back parts. 16 inches. The next measurement to be needed is the shoulder to the hip measurement. The shoulder to hip measurement is 24. So we also mark at 24. The point at which the 24 inches gets to on our pattern paper, we'll mark that. Excuse me. We'll mark that 24 inches. Then the next stop is the full length of our dress. So all these points we have marked out, we square them out. Here is the shoulder to bust measurement, the shoulder to bust points. Here is the shoulder to the waist, shoulder to the waist measurement, and here is the shoulder to hip measurement. So what we are doing right here is just to square these lines out. So let me just label them so that we won't get confused. This is the shoulder to bust points. This is the shoulder to the waist. This is the shoulder to the hip. And this is the full length of the dress. Now we have all our points ready. The next thing we need to do, we have all our vertical measurements ready. The next thing we'll be doing is to get our horizontal measurements. So the first horizontal measurement we'll be needing is the shoulder measurement. Here on our paper we have the shoulder's value as 13 inches. So what we'll be doing is to divide the shoulder into two. Okay, before we go on, let me just, to make this easy for us, all the horizontal measurements, the horizontal measurements are the shoulder, the bust, the waist, and the hip. So what I'll do, I'll just show us the formula we'll use to divide all these measurements. The shoulder will be divided by 2, the bust will be divided by 4, the waist will be divided by 4, the hip will be divided by 4, and the armhole will be divided by 2. So let's get on with our out our dartless bodies. So the first measurement, horizontal measurement we'll be needing is shoulder, and the shoulder's value is 13 inches. So 18 divided by 2 will give us 9. 18 divided by 2, oh sorry, our armhole is meant to be 16 inches, not 18. 16 inches. So 16 divided by 2 will give us 8 inches. 16 divided by 2 will give us 8 inches. So here is our 8 inches point here. So we'll draw a straight line from that point to meet the shoulder slant. Please make sure this line is straight. Can you see? We measure your armhole measurement divided by 2. Here we have 8 inches. 8 inches. So to get the value of the back armhole, just place your tape measure at the start line. Can you see what I'm doing? I place my tape measure at the start line to get to where the measurement of the shoulder is, armhole is. I place my tape measure on the start line to get to where the measurement of the armhole ends. Can you see? I have 9 inches, but remember my armhole measurement is 8 inches from the shoulder slant, but I'm starting this measurement from the start line, and I have 9 inches here. So I'm just going to take the 9 inches and place on the back armhole and mark. Do you know why I did this? Remember, our shoulder slants are different. We dropped here by 1 inch, we dropped here by ½ inch. So, and I want to get a straight armhole line here. So if I measure 8 inches here and I measure 8 inches here, definitely my line won't be straight. So I'm just carrying the value from here, starting from the start line to the armhole, end of the armhole measurement. I'm just carrying the value from here and placing it here so that they will be equal despite the differences of the slant of the shoulder. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So I'm going to connect this to the shoulder slant at the back. I'm going to connect this here. Can you see what we've done here? Now the next thing is to get our armhole curve, the shape of our armhole. Remember, our armhole is not straight like this. We need to get the shape of our armhole, which looks a little bit round. So that's what we'll be doing next. To get our armhole, we are going to be dividing this straight line into 2 equal parts. So here we have 8½ inches. 8½ divided by 2 will give us 4.25. 4.25. Here is my 4.25 here. So I also come to this front armhole and measure my 4.25. Can you see? I measure my 4.25. Now here is where the across front and across back measurement comes in. For the front, the across front measurement is 10 inches. So here we are going to be checking if our across front measurement tallies. Can you see what I have here? The value I have here is 6.25. Can you see? I have 6.25 here. 6.25. Meanwhile, for this across front measurement, I need 10 inches. 10 inches divided by 2 will give me 5. And I have 6.25 here. So what do? I make my deductions. I need 5 inches and I have 6.25. That means I have extra 1.25. But for ease sake, I'll just be deducting 1 inch. 1 inch. For ease, I'll be deducting 1 inch. So I'll pick up my armhole curve. Here is our armhole curve. Here is our armhole curve. Here is our armhole curve. So here is our armhole curve. We'll be needing to connect